welcome back into the Percussive Art Society Georgia Chapter interview series. I'm Andrew Bennett, and we'll be talking to a lot of the awesome percussionists across the state, from collegiate professors and performers to middle school and high school directors, independent performers, everybody. Before we jump in, I do want to take a moment to remind you, if you're not an active PAS member, please take a moment to either sign up or reactivate your membership today. And as we're filming this in early October, if you see this before PASIC in mid-November, please consider registering for that as well. It is a virtual event this year, but it's a lot of cool stuff going to be going on there. So without any further delay, I'm going to introduce our guest today. He's the Assistant of Bands and Director of Percussion at Middle Georgia State University, Mr. Miguel Castro. How are you today?
Hello, Andrew. It's great to see you. I'm doing great, and happy to be here, and be part of this, very kind interview that you offer to do with me. So I'm ready to share, all the things that people may want to know about me.
Now, I've known you for years, and I'd be willing to bet that a lot of the people who are listening have probably known you for years, but we're still going to ask you to, in case we've got some either young people maybe in high school or new people to Georgia, just to share a little bit about yourself. So if you can tell us a little bit about how you got started in percussion, how your schooling was, just give us the story that led into your professional career.
Yeah, well, I was born and grew up in the Dominican Republic, in the city of Santo Domingo, also regarded as the oldest city in the Americas. So, it was definitely, great growing up there, and also very different from what we know here in the United States, and so forth. Due to many different aspects, but including the climate. It's a great place to go to the beach and Caribbean Sea, the ocean, et cetera, et cetera. Life in general, over there is a lot more laid back. So music is very festive, and from an early age, I was think about 6 years old when I asked my parents, okay, that I love music. I was since very early in life exposed to all kinds of great music from all different sources, from classical music to everything else. My parents were, my dad is still alive. He's a great music lover, and exposed me to everything from great performances by Toscanini to jazz repertoire, et cetera, et cetera. Nonetheless, growing up in the Dominican, and having so much cultural and musical richness over there, especially in all of the different Afro-Caribbean styles, that also kind of was interesting to me. So the combination of all of the above, really made me want to learn music. I come from a family that the only professional musician, okay, that was born in the Dominican, it's me. So that everybody has been very heavily into science. They're all scientists, et cetera, even though they have been very appreciative and lovers of music and the arts, but they're scientists. So and I kind of went that path as well later on in life, but never left music aside. So as I'm gonna share in a brief moment. So anyway, I asked my family to buy me instruments, to get me private lessons from age 6, et cetera, and I did that for a little while until I was able to to sign up for basically the lower level of conservatory in Santo Domingo, which was it's called in Spanish Escuela Elemental de Música Elila Mena, which is basically the elementary level or lower level of conservatory. It's a pre conservatory or pre college, you know, program where they treat you as a pretty much as a music major, but you are, you know, an early teen. You know what I'm saying? All the way until you are of age to join higher education. And so I did pretty much 6 years in the lower level of conservatory, and then once I graduated, you know, and had to go to college, then uh, started the upper level, as they call it, you know. So did 4 years, did 5 years actually, which entails, you know, like the first 4 years is you know, strictly performance, and then one more year gets your master level of also uh, you know, music education to have you you know, the license to teach. And naturally, that's for the Dominican. Parallel with that, also, I was doing chemical engineering at the National University of Santo Domingo, which is, by the way, the oldest university in the Americas as well. Uh, being the city of firsts down there in Santo Domingo, when Columbus got and decided this is where I want to stay, you know, and started, you know, pretty much the what we know as you know, as the new culture in the Americas. So I went to that school for chemical engineering that was you know, founded in 1536. All right, and so got my chemical engineering degree, and right 20 minutes before, not 20 minutes, 20 days before, you know, I actually got to walk on both on the conservatory degree and the university degree in chemical engineering. I auditioned for the National Symphony Orchestra and got the job as a percussionist. So I went to my family and say, hey, how do you all feel if I decide to do music rather than chemical engineering? Because I mean, you know, I haven't had anything lined up for chemical engineering to make a living, but I already had the position. I earned the you know, the position through the audition to be in the National Symphony Orchestra. So, but you know, as the way that I was brought up, kind of respectful, you know, to your elders and everything else. I wanted to know what my parents had to, you know, to say about it, you know, and how they felt, because especially that there's nobody in my family tree that was a professional musician. I was going to be like the first, you know. And so what they, you know, that for my surprise, you know, they were actually very, you know, very supportive, very pleased. They said, no, it's your life. You know, the only thing we ask from you is the following: whatever you decide to do with whatever you have studied, you know, just essentially, if I can say this in the interview, said, don't suck. So be good at it. So always try your best. If you do that, we're gonna be, you know, we're gonna be proud of you. We're gonna, you know, whatever you choose to do. And so that was great. That was basically the green light for me to pretty much pursue the thing that have already been for over a decade my passion since I was a little kid. And you know, basically from there, it has been, you know, to this day that I woke up to this to do this interview has been, you know, a great journey. All right, because I look forward to every morning, you know, to do whatever I need to do, because I know that it's going to involve music heavily. And so I look forward to every day because of it. So I couldn't picture myself doing something different, and more so in the area that I have chosen, which is percussion. That's what we're talking about here. And you know, even though I started when I was 6, some of the instruments that I took private lessons, such as you, I know that I remember you being also a fine pianist and did solo and ensemble, just played other instruments, et cetera, et cetera. You come from a very musical family. I remember your brother, all of that kind of stuff in there. But same thing here. You know, I went through an early period of you know, exploration with different instruments, where I took private lessons, and they just added even more. When I chose to kind of focus on percussion, I came from, you know, already from a very rich musical background due to, you know, knowing, you know, or having had experience with other instruments, musical instruments. And that I felt it was a great thing, you know. So every time I'm teaching a percussion student, I always encourage them to, even if it's just for fun, you know, to definitely explore other instrumental areas and even the voice or whatever else in music that would be different from percussion, because it only brings more into your experience. You know, it brings other angles into what you're doing as a percussionist, you know. So that's pretty much you know, like the beginning of everything, all the way until college. I you know, became, you know, a assistant principal percussionist, and you know, my teacher, who is still the principal percussionist down there, you know, after decades and decades, they don't let him retire, by the way. You know, and you can only retire by presidential decree. They have denied him from retirement for, you know, 3 or 4 times for about in the last 15 years, which is actually kind of funny. But it's like, well, you know, I'm 87 years old, you know, I want to retire, but they don't let him. So I guess they'll retire him when he's no longer around. He actually you know, just the, you know, decided that he was not going to put the papers anymore, because they don't approve him. So anyway, and by the way, this is what I want to do too. I want death to be my retirement plan, because I would like to get up in the morning until I can't anymore and do what I do, since this it has been from you know, from the, you know, early years, the thing that I you know, that drives me and motivates me, you know, to you know, to live, even though I do have other interests, and I greatly appreciate other things, but this is the driving force. So anyway, I'll give you the mic back now.
No, that's fine. That's why we're doing these interviews. We want to hear from you. So now I know this was something I was going to ask about later, but just so we can keep kind of going chronologically, I know from doing a little bit of research and knowing you that you went to New York, you went to Germany, you've been in Venezuela, you've been all over the place. So can you just kind of give us sort of your journey across the map after leaving home?
Yes, well, while I was in the symphony orchestra, I actually was fortunate enough, being actually the youngest member of the symphony. The my director at the time, Maestro Carlos Piantini, he himself, who had been, before coming back to be the director of the symphony, he was a violinist in the New York Philharmonic for 15 years, you know, and then, you know, had a great experience as a guest conductor and conducting in the Caracas Philharmonic and everywhere, you know, just for several years, until he returned back to the Dominican. He wanted me to have the opportunity to come to the States and search, you know, for something I would like to do to continue growing. And the symphony was going to pay for that and put me on basically paid leave of absence so I could do this thing. So I looked for a program at the time in conjunction with Manhattan School of Music that Drummers Collective had, where you could study with many different of the great percussionists and drummers and master percussionists of other disciplines, at Drummers Collective, and then do this program. I did this program for 2 years in 1984 and 1985, and I had the great opportunity to study one-on-one with many of the people that were actually my heroes, such as Steve Gadd on drum set, people like Kenwood Denard, people like Fred Hinger on timpani. He definitely was one of the people, like Saul Goodman and Big Firth, et cetera, et cetera. That was Chloe Duff. That was one of the pioneer, timpani scientists, I should say. Not only players, but they actually have discovered so much and share so much of their experience with all of us today, that they're regarded as PAS Hall of Famers, et cetera, et cetera. So, but I never had the most remote idea that I was going to be even in the same room with none of these individuals. And yet, my director, Carlos Piantini, offered me the opportunity to go and definitely, find, a place, where I could do this for a little bit of time, as long as I would return. And so I did. I fulfilled my end of the bargain. So yeah, that was, I studied with many of the people in New York City that were teaching for that program that was pretty much put together by Drummers Collective International, then directed by Rob Wallace and Paul Siegel, who were the pioneers of drumming videos, educational videos. So then VHS format. Okay, now DVDs and everything else that we know. Okay, but I remember when I got there, they had just started, releasing all these great VHS videos of all the different drummers, Steve Gadd being one of them, Dave Weckl, all of these great videos that Neil Peart, and everybody else that did educational videos for Drummers Collective International, Simon Phillips, you name it. And with that also other musicians. I remember that even Chick Corea and many Jaco Pastorius and many other musicians did educational videos for DCI. When I say DCI, instead of Drum Corps International, Drummers Collective International. So I was, I came in the earlier part of all of that as a student, and I feel very fortunate that I tapped into that thing, and got me going, because then that broadened my, not only my experience as a percussionist, especially orchestral or popular percussionist in the Dominican, but as a multi percussionist, because I tried to study with everybody that I saw an opportunity during those 2 years. And the list of great people that I had the chance to be exposed to, like Doug Allen, who co-wrote the Vibes book, with Phil Krause, and so forth and so on, are to me, to this day, invaluable, because I mean, many of these people that I studied with are not with us anymore. But you know, they were way before I even met them. They were already legendary, and so to have as a young man that opportunity, I think it's a great blessing, because I don't think that I could have done it on my own if other people didn't facilitate these opportunities, especially being, you know, in a country where everything is difficult to get. You know, I mean, being in the Dominican Republic, that also means you are in the third world. So we had to, even as far as equipment, make do sometimes with whatever, because things were not widely available like they are here in the United States. So you really have to work hard for what you have down there. You know, even to get you know, a pair of drumsticks or a replacement head for a drum set, because it's not widely available. There's no guitar centers or things like that around the corner over there everywhere. Sometimes you have to make do things like I did, you know, with X-ray films, you know, and make your own drum head, you know, with that would have like people's bones and stuff like that around, because you couldn't get a Remo head fast enough. And that's that sort of thing. So all of that, you know, has been great. I went, you know, to New York after I returned. I was not even a whole year in the symphony when he told me again if I wanted to go to be interim percussionist. A friend of his in Venezuela, where he was the director of the Caracas Philharmonic, asked if he was short a percussionist. And I was the youngest guy. I wasn't married. I didn't have any strings attached. I said, "Do you want to go for a year and play in the Maracaibo Symphony Orchestra?" I said, I'll send you, and you can go and have you know, that experience and everything else, and they're gonna pay you well. Well, so I said, "Yes, sir." So I ended up playing in Maracaibo Symphony Orchestra. Then with the principal percussionist, and later on he was the director of percussion studies at Columbus State, you know, and also disciple of Big Firth, you know, who I found later on over here, you know, Matthew Ross, and you know, and so forth and so on. I mean, it's been great. Then when I came back to the Dominican, and then married my you know, my first wife Vanessa, who got hired by the same director that sent me all over the place. He hired her when she graduated from Juilliard as a principal clarinetist, and she's originally from Ohio, but spent the you know, half of her life in New York over there, especially studying with the best people at Juilliard, etc. She came to the Dominican to be principal clarinetist, and you know, after we got married 2 years later, she was done with her first 2-year contract. She was homesick and wanted to come to the States. So that's how I this, you know, basically decided to leave everything that I had going on over there. I was very active in the recording industry, doing jingles for radio and TV, was in the National Symphony Orchestra, was the assistant to my teacher in the Conservatory of Music, you know, teaching over there, and director of percussion at the second location of the conservatory in Centro de la Cultura de Santiago, up north, in the northern part of the Dominican. And so basically, I had a booming career. I had definitely job opportunities to have kept me there, you know, forever, if you will, because I was already doing extremely well. But of course, My wife at the time, wanted to come back to the United States and be with family, et cetera, et cetera. So I gave all of that up to start from ground zero. So we moved in 1987 to the United States, and then we shortly after that, she joined the Air Force as principal clarinetist for the Air Force Band of New England, and from that point on, through the Air Force, we traveled, and life took us to many different places, including the 5 years that we spent in Germany or Europe, while she was the principal clarinetist of the Air Force Band, the U.S. Air Force Band of Europe, also known as USAFE. At the end of that, enlistment for the USAFE band, we got transferred to Warner Robins, Georgia. So now you see how that brings me to this neck of the woods. So at that time, my kids were very, very young, and I felt that Warner Robins was a great place, for me to like raise a family, and I didn't need to be moving all around, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to be kind of grounded a little bit, and basically almost fresh off the plane, I got offered a job at Mercer University. That's right. And so Dr. Doug Hill, who is like a brother to me, just pretty much snatched me and didn't let me even unpack my bags when I was already teaching at Mercer. So it was kind of cool, to I didn't know basically what I was getting into when I got here. I only knew that for the 7th time I was changing addresses drastically, all the way from Germany to central Georgia. But I didn't have, every time I moved, I never had anything on the other side. So I never knew what was in store for me. That's one of the things about my career that I try to share with students. You should never be, fearful of what life and career has in store for you. Because even though you don't know these things, it's all what you make it to be. And if you keep your mind open, and if you do the right things and continue doing with your part, like practicing, like being diligent about your skills, it doesn't matter where you end up, you'll get to do something, and you will get to make a living without having to resort to selling insurance or something like that, which is actually very difficult in a different language than yours. So it's much easier to speak the language of music than to try to sell insurance in German. Anyway, so yes, so life threw me and all these opportunities, gave me also the chance, even though I didn't live in other places around the world, but I got to travel for a period of time and do like either mini tours or having a little bit of a longer term experience in other cultures, in Asia, in Africa. While I was in Europe, I did a lot of traveling and did a lot of, other general regions, research while I was, traveling and doing my job, playing music, etc. That were also very, very rewarding and beneficial from my personal skill standpoint. Because I was always in the learning mode constantly. As I was experiencing all of these. I'm still in learning mode, by the way. I try to do that day in and day out. If I don't find something that will be new to me, I get worried. Because I know that there's so much out there that I'm not gonna be able to in this lifetime tap to all of the stuff that is out there. You know what I'm saying? That I can learn. So yeah, to me, every day, even to this day, is a learning experience. But the traveling facilitated a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? Because when you are in different regions with different people, different cultures, et cetera, you see how you know other people do the same things that you do, and you learn a lot from there, because you realize that even though you do some of the same things, we all play drums, we all play, but the way that everybody approaches things may be unique to that particular culture or whatever, and that in itself has added so much to my to my bag, uh, of resources that I find it extremely awesome to have had the opportunity to do the traveling portion or living in different parts of the world since I left my homeland. Yeah. Anyway.
Cool, very cool. So that kind of brings us up to sort of where you are now. So you made it to Middle Georgia. You were at Mercer for a while, which I don't generally talk about myself in these interviews, but I went to Mercer for my undergrad, so I was kind of excited to hear you mention Go Bears, by the way. But now you're the director at Middle Georgia State University. Can you tell us a little about getting that job and a little bit what you do now, how your duties maybe have changed over the years? Just tell us about that job.
Yes, yes. Basically, in 1998, I was approached, and I was still at Mercer. I was approached to go and help, start the music program at Middle Georgia, then in Cochran, Middle Georgia College. It was not a university at the time, and so I accepted and started very, if you will, very light with the whole process. Even though I was there from the beginning, but I was being an aide to Mr. Louis Foster, who was appointed to be the one putting together the music program at the college. And it was only at associate's degree level. Okay, so there was only a 2-year program. Well, I thought that was going to be something cool for me to do. I've always loved starting things. You see, when I came to Mercer has been already established since last century. And the music program has been going for a long, long time. So I just came into something that was already built. You see what I'm saying? And what attracted me to the idea also of starting, at Middle Georgia was the fact that it was going to be something new, and that I was going to have something to do with it from ground zero, and that always have been something that attracted me, to start something from scratch and see how far we can take it, that sort of thing. And and like that, I have been part of starting music programs in Middle Georgia, like the Houston County Black and Silver Brigade band program, like the Veterans Warhawk band program, et cetera, that I started when from the ground up, or helped start from the ground up, to what they are right now. And that has always been kind of a passion of mine. So that's what originally brought me to Middle Georgia, as an institution. in 2000, in the year 2000, 2001, they really wanted me to get a bunch of responsibilities and made an offer, for me to get pretty much hands-on, be have a more responsibilities, teach more classes, be in charge of percussion program, be at the time the title jazz band director, which definitely is something that I helped at Mercer, but I was not. I was a side man, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? And nothing wrong with that, But having at that point the opportunity to to do a little more and be pretty much together with Louis Foster, the two driving forces of the music program, that in itself kind of gave me some kind of push. And so that's when I decided that that I wanted to do this, because I was already overly busy, and they could find the right person at Mercer to do that, but I was already so invested from the ground up and with Middle Georgia that I felt like I needed to take this opportunity and continue, well, to this day, to see how far we can take it. But nonetheless, my colleagues and my experience at Mercer, your alma mater, were wonderful. I enjoyed every minute of it. I had great opportunities offered to me over there as well, and I was the first director of athletic band ever, because I actually put together at Mercer the the first pep band. We used to do basketball. Well, they still do, I guess. And the play for the basketball team, et cetera, and yada yada yada. Later on, football came after I long have left, so I didn't have to do with that part of the athletic band program. but with the beginning, which was part of the music department at Mercer. So yes, I'm thankful of all the opportunities that were given to me while I was at Mercer, and then I started with Middle Georgia. Well, long story short, about 2000, about 4 or 5 years ago, we became not a college. We merged with Dane-Macon College into Middle Georgia State College, all right, and then started adding bachelor's degrees. So we were no longer 2-year colleges anymore. We became then shortly after a state university, and one of the one more of the USG, University System of Georgia, institutions with 4-year degrees and master's degrees, et cetera, which is something that I've seen evolve, since I got to Middle Georgia in 1998. So it's been a great experience to have seen all of that, even with all of the challenges that COVID-19 has brought to all of us in higher education, anyway, and in the arts, period. I mean, we're doing a lot of different things that I think that is one of your topics to ask me later on. But yeah, up until now, that's basically how I got to Middle Georgia, all the different institutions that I have been. During this time, I've been from the beginning the percussion coordinator for the Houston County school system. And so from the time I started at Mercer in the early 90s, I got appointed, to kind of coordinate the percussion aspect of the band programs in the county. And so of course, two of those high schools, um, I helped start from the ground up. Some of the other ones were already established when I got here, like Warren Robins, like Northside High School, et cetera, like Perry High School and whatnot. But definitely I did something to those other schools that or help with something at those other schools that were not part of their history, and that was to help those programs become competitive programs. Okay, where instead of just doing, for a lack of a better term, fun marching band, then they were doing competitive marching band, more along the lines of like Bands of America, you know, marching bands being adjudicated, and having a different level of performance as the fun marching bands. Okay, that prior to my involvement, I remember when I got to this area, all the marching bands were primarily like in the central Georgia area. I'm not saying in the Atlanta area. They were competing up there way before I got here to Georgia. But here in Central Georgia, most of the band programs, they were all fun marching band. They did uh, you know basically stock charts and popular tunes, and they did elevator drill and fun music that people enjoyed, which there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, in halftime, but they were geared, just to be only entertaining. You see, with the competitive edge that we added as we got involved with the schools in this county and in this area, we actually brought a new level of execution, keeping, for the most part, also the entertaining part of it. Because if you are telling a story, if you are getting something that is more musically involved, especially percussion has to do a lot with the competitive aspect of it, because you can throw all the juicy rudimental knowledge into it. and be also, not only musically challenging, but be very rewarding for the students that are learning this music and putting into practice things that they actually learn in the execution of their instrument. Because you learn all these rudiments, are you required to know all of these and all of that? Well, this is a great opportunity to have that vocabulary be an intricate part of that art form called competitive marching band. And so I'm happy to say that I guess I had um, a little something to do with all of that process after I got here from Germany, so to Georgia. And it's been a good ride. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still seeing how everything flourishes. All the programs that I have nothing to do, also have been positively affected by it, and they bought into it, and how things, just keep on moving, in that direction. So.
Absolutely. And as somebody who did grow up in near where you were, I wasn't in Warner Robins, but every band director knew who you were. Almost every percussionist that I knew who you were. So you did have a broad hand in the Middle Georgia area. So again, I'm sure a lot of people listening have heard you or seen you like that. But any of the younger students maybe watching this, any high schools watching this, just know Miguel's kind of shaped Middle Georgia percussion pretty heavily.
Yeah, and one thing that I have that I have enjoyed doing, and of course you are a product of that as well. I have been very involved with all of the different things like solo and ensemble, judging, doing all things, that have been available to me, and never say no to any of it. Primarily because I've been thinking about, everybody out there and all of the young people, like I was at some point before, and I'm in debt to all of the people that put me in the right track. You see what I'm saying? To be where I am today. So I feel like by doing so, and also being encouraging through these mediums, um, to a lot of young people in the area where I'm doing something, where I'm consequential. I think it's kind of like a duty, to give back, because I received plenty when I was growing up. You see what I'm saying? And so, and I'm thankful for that. But once you receive and receive and receive, it's kind of like a duty also to try to give and give and give. Because if you receive, it's because somebody at some point gave you something. You see what I'm saying? So if somebody gave you knowledge or exposure or help you, develop skills, et cetera, you are also in debt. And if you don't share it with other people, that's why I love PAS, because there's so much sharing at PAS. I mean, we one of the main things about Percussive Art Society is the the whole sharing aspect of it, where professionals of our art form come together to share, to enlighten one another, to help each other grow. And that's basically how I've seen my path in music. So yes, I love performing, and I have had lots of opportunities in my lifetime. Like as we speak, I travel every couple 2-3 months until COVID now, to to play with the Houston Philharmonic. It's one of my jobs, one of my many jobs that is not in the town where I live, and they expect me to jump on a plane, go play, and come back and never miss, because I am the principal percussionist there. So, like I said, I love performing. All of that is great, but performing is something that is basically between you and yourself. It's something that stays with you. And even though it's great and it feels terrific, but to me, also sharing all of those experiences in other forms like music education, that's the part where I see that it will contribute to the community, to have that experience being passed down. And the performance experience is not complete to me until you do the other, even though I never intended to be a teacher. This is funny, but quickly I understood that it was something that needed to happen, and I could not just be selfish. Me. And when you are, let's face it, performing is great, but it's a selfish activity because it's about you. You see what I'm saying? Music education is about you and others, so it involves a lot more. And so I feel that if I only stay with the performance aspect of it, I'm being selfish. I'm the only one getting pleased here. but when I combine the two, it brings everything to a different dimension. And so I embraced that, and to this day, I feel that that I will never let that go. You know, even though it was not my intention initially. It's like, oh no, no, I don't, no, I'm just gonna perform. Just do this, do that, this and that and the other. Teaching. Oh no, no, that's too hard. I'm gonna let somebody else do that. But no, I understood that. That, hey, there's a void here. There's something that is not getting complete. That is not making me feel good. So very quickly, I found the correlation between the two. Plus, one thing that I never forgot. One of my main teacher, Luis Elseviv, who is that gentleman that I told you about, that is still at 87 years old, principal percussionist in the Dominican, told me once. I said, guess what? Even though you said that you don't want to teach, you do, because I'm going to share a secret with you. When you teach, you learn twice. And that took that took a little bit to kind of simmer in there and sink in. It's like, and then it just became like an epiphany. It's like, he's right. Every time I teach, I learn. So this is great. I think this is going to be the way. And that was a one really interesting experience for me, because it changed things, the way I originally viewed it, and then I view it now to this day after all these years. And I'm thankful that it didn't take very long, for me to make that connection, and say, dang, this is great. Yeah, that's the way I want to go. So anyway, yeah.
Awesome. Which I always love hearing those kind of stories. I had a very similar experience growing up. I thought, well, I'm just going to go be a performer. People are going to throw money at me to play the drums and
Babies.
not be a teacher. Yeah. But I think and it may have been a similar thing for you. Is like the first lesson that I taught, I was like, that was awesome. So again, that feeling you get when you share and you see their eyes light up and they get it, it's magical. So I think anybody listening, if you are either younger, maybe you're just a performer, and you've ever thought, no, teaching's not for me, I can't, or I don't want to, I think it's always worth trying, because like you said, there's just a different feeling in there with teaching, which I
Yeah.
think that this kind of leads into you kind of mentioned this earlier, and I think
Before you get into the next thing, I just
Go ahead.
want to say this. I just want to say this because I'm very proud of you. I've watched your the things that you have shared educationally through videos and so forth. And I love the way that you present this information whenever you're doing something on video that I have had the opportunity to sit down and watch. And you're very deliberate, and very clear, into whatever you're showing. And I think you have whether you know it or not, I think that you have already helped a lot of people through through the teaching part of it. So I'm glad that you also made that connection earlier in life, because you're pretty good at it. You're outstanding at it. So there you go.
I'm gonna have to go cut that out of the video so nobody sees me blushing.
No, I wanted to give you credit, because every time I see something like that, it also brings a lot of joy to my heart. Especially if somehow I have connected with those individuals, such as you. I see that I'm like in cloud nine when I see these things. So.
Well, before I let you talk about me anymore, I'll go ahead and move on to the next question. Because you did mention earlier about good old COVID going on right now. And really what I've asked everybody, and this is the most important thing I think to me, is what's the biggest positive that you think has come from either us all being home over the last few months, doing more virtual stuff like what we're doing? What's the biggest positive you found from this?
Yeah, for one thing, just like everybody, when one day I remember, one day on a Friday I was doing like large group performance evaluations in March, and then we thought that we were going to come back on Monday and start with all of the spring activities and so forth and so on, and then all of a sudden, it's like we're sitting on the couch, and then we sat some more, and nobody knew what was going on except that we were under a pandemic over here, and it's like, oh my goodness. And for a moment, well, yeah, 2 weeks we'll be back. That's what everybody thought. Some people actually looked ahead and decided to to just end things virtually. Like, for example, in the case of Middle Georgia, when that happened, we went on our spring break. So that week that we stayed at home was not affected, okay, by all the decisions and what the governor brought to the table shortly after, et cetera, et cetera. So, but they, the people that were directing us through the process, so, and just like us, other institutions as well, not just Middle Georgia, but so what was coming, and they started, just at least throwing options out there. And so at first it was really hard to visualize how you could change 180 degrees in midair everything that you know how to do. So the great positive for me was to, with no preparation, no time to think about, and basically with the clock ticking, to figure out on how you could get all your activities, okay, especially the teaching aspect of it, all the way to the end of the semester successfully. And I think it's one of that in itself has been one of the most challenging things that I had to deal with, because I don't think none of us were fully prepared. We had bits and pieces of information that we have fooled around with because we're familiar with technology, that we're a little bit familiar with apps, with the internet, this and that and the other, while some others that have been so diligent were probably more in a pickle than I was. People that still have flip phones and things like such were probably in more trouble because they didn't know how to use Facebook or Zoom or anything like that, whatever. So in a very short time, we all had to become technology savvy and to make everything that has been available for a while that was not used in this fashion, at least not for your for the majority of the population. You see, yes, this thing, some businesses and some people used it, okay, because it was available and it was kind of practical for them to do pre-COVID. But for us artists and teachers and stuff like that, like, we did some of it. We may have taught a course online. We may have done a little something here or there, but not hot and heavy, like all of a sudden, we have to, everything has to be done virtually, and you have to be in your house for, at least for 40 days before we figure out what else is going to happen. So um, that was a very intense crash course, no pun intended, for percussionists. Yeah, that's right. Crash course on all the different mediums that were out there available for me to finish, the semester at the university, especially when uh, a great deal of it that I teach is hands-on. And I mean, that was really hard. Okay, but we figured all the different things out very quickly. And when we quote unquote returned back to school after spring break, which actually we never physically returned because the campus was closed, and the schools were closed, et cetera, et cetera. We had to learn and rely on these mediums to be able to accomplish, in the best way possible, um, things that we were not used to doing that way. And so I guess navigating uncharted territories for many of us was, one of the great positives, because nobody saw that coming, you know. And me personally, I had to learn so much in such little time that you know I, I don't look at it as like a lot of people sometimes, they have a negative outlook on things. Yes, what happened then and what's still happening, is not ideal, but you can look at it from two perspectives, and I'm still learning a whole lot and try to learn more every day, to do things to the point that even if we return to the what we used to know as the normal, okay, um, I think that now we have the tools that we can continue using to our advantage, uh, to complement all of these, um, old normal. So that people talk about the new normal. This is the new normal. This is the new normal. Well, when the new normal is not the new normal anymore, then we can have a fusion of the old normal and the new normal, and I think that having both running together will make us stronger than we were before. We're not there yet, but I think that that's going to be the most positive thing for me at the end of this journey, and after they find the vaccine, and after everybody goes back to performing in large groups and for large audiences, and theaters are filled to the capacity, to watch people perform, or to see Betty Joe playing their spring concert at the middle school, or whatever the case may be. I mean, all of that, I'm looking forward to that, but we'll have gained something in addition to. And when that takes place, I think that we are going to be stronger on the other side altogether. So
I agree. And it's very good to hear such a positive spin on it. Everybody's kind of had their particular thing of, oh, I think this is a great thing, but I like the idea of their, old normal, new normal, somewhere at the end, we'll have a nice mixture, because there are great things. I think what we're doing right now, a virtual conversation, if we live too far apart, you rarely get to see each other, especially in a big community like the whole state of Georgia with percussion. So I hope that this stuff will continue. I want to go take, we're probably going to wrap this up pretty soon. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. You've shared so much cool stuff, a lot of good insights, positivity and stuff. I'm going to look forward to your educational videos for anybody watching this. We are going to have some really cool stuff from Miguel coming soon. Once again, knowing him long enough, I can tell you right now, it's going to be pretty awesome, whatever he teaches. So,
thank you. You are very kind.
So thank you for your time. I'm also in the wrap up going to remind everybody, if you're not actively involved in PASIC, or excuse me, PAS, please take a moment to join or sign up when everything does return to either the old normal or whatever our hybrid will be. We're going to try to have some percussion days in Georgia where you hopefully get to meet and see Miguel Castro in person, maybe ask him some more questions and everything. So be sure to join PAS so that we can make that kind of stuff happen. Do keep an eye, of course, on Facebook. We're going to be launching some more social media soon so we can share more of these interviews, information, all that kind of cool stuff. So in the meantime, everybody out there, thank you for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you all again soon.
Great pleasure.